Well, let's take a look at what is happening in the markets, and we start off with the JSE. Of course, we have seen risk-off sentiment continuing, with the Asian markets being the hardest hit. But quite interestingly, the JSE started in the morning from a sharp sell-off to now showing significant gains. So a little bit of a rebound that we are seeing on the local bourse, but still really far off from the record highs that we saw at around 90,000 points about 2 weeks ago. The all share on the day up by 0.75%. That largely coming from the resources 10 complex that has climbed more than 2.5%. Of course, that being led largely by the platinum sector, the PGM sector. The financial 15 also making a turnaround there, edging higher by almost 2%. Industrial 25, though, backing that overall trend and extending its losses, declining by more than 0.75%. Let's take a look at what is happening in the U.S. markets, and we are still seeing a major shedding in those stock prices in the U.S. Of course, investors still digesting the economic impact of the Trump tariffs. Trump actually ignoring the losses that we are seeing in the markets, as he had said that sometimes you need to take medicine to fix some things. But the question is, will the U.S. be drinking its own medicine? The S&P 500 declining by almost 2%, tech-heavy Nasdaq down by 1.72%, and the Dow there nosediving by almost 3%. We are seeing a bear market on that front. Let's take a look at what is happening with the markets across the Atlantic. And of course, we are still waiting for responses from some of the regions and the big major players in the economy. And we have seen the European Union saying that they are willing to negotiate, but if the US is not willing to come to the table, then they will respond accordingly. Looking at the FTSE 100 nosediving there by more than 3%, CAC 40 declining by more than 3.5%, and a loss on the DAX of almost 3%. Let's take a look at the currency scene and start off with how the rand is doing against some of the major currencies. Significant weakening of the rand, catastrophic losses there by almost 3%, 19 rand 58 against the US dollar, far cry from the 18 rand 10, 18 rand 20 levels that we saw about 2 weeks ago. The rand against the pound at 24 rand 96, and the rand against the euro at 21.41. Let's check in on how the other currency pairs are doing. Starting off with the euro dollar at 1.09, pound dollar at 1.27, and the yen strengthening against the US dollar just above 147 against that currency. Of course, the yen now being seen as one of the safe havens.